The simple answer is that institutions have said one thing and have done another thing. There's not consistency between those two things. But the reason it's changed, and the reason I think you're seeing a decline, and this is across virtually every segment of any industry, institutions are declining in trust. People's trust in institutions has declined for the past 30 to 40 years. And the number one reason is that the control of the communications channels have shifted. Ordinary people now control the communication channels on social media, through messaging apps. So now if there's an issue, or if there's a concern, or if there's a bad experience with an institution, it is actually, that communication is controlled by individual people. And that's a pretty dramatic shift from what we've seen in the past. But at the core of it is this notion of the institutions exist for a very specific reason, and the actions often don't match with that. And so if you look at the Tesco meat scandal in the UK, if you look at bribery at FIFA, if you look at the Panama Papers, the list goes on and on and on. You look at Facebook and the data privacy issue with Cambridge Analytica. All that it contributes to this notion that these institutions, these large institutions that formerly were institutions of trust, are not behaving in the way that they say they should behave. And so that gap is what I think has accelerated this discontent. And now the ability to spread that message happens very, very quickly through social media and other digital apps. The core lesson is that it's about people first. It's about the people you serve and putting them as your primary goal and really your only goal. And to get there, I think there are three things that allow us to get there in a much more effective way to start to rebuild trust. Number one is leading with empathy. Starting with understanding, with developing really a deep understanding of the people we're trying to serve, and then obsessing and delivering against that. And the second is establishing purpose. And by purpose, I don't mean kind of a generic social good. I mean, why do you exist? Not your mission statement, not what you do. Why do you exist? What are your intentions? How do you serve a higher human need beyond making profits? And the third is integrity, making sure that what you say, you actually do, that you live your principles every single day. Those are really the three attributes that I think are the things that will reestablish trust for us, not only in financial services, but across every industry: empathy, purpose, and integrity. A lot of times when you talk to people, just ordinary people outside of financial services, about financial services, their eyes gloss over, right? Because they think of it as an institution that's selling them some kind of financial product that is complex and difficult for them to understand. But at the core of it, when you really break it down, what we're talking about is people's relationship with money. And what's more important than your relationship with money? The number one cause of stress and anxiety for people is money. But we think about it in narrow terms. And so what I was trying to convey is that if we start to open the aperture and we think about the full spectrum of people's relationship with money, how they earn their money, how they spend it, how they save it, how they give it, how they borrow it, and then, of course, how they invest it, then you start to get a more complete picture of what actually enhances their sense of well-being, or what takes away stress, or makes them feel more stable, or what makes them feel more secure. Back in the 1960s, jogging was a really strange thing. If you saw someone jogging down the sidewalk, people would say that's a strange thing. Someone is in shorts running down the sidewalk for no particular reason. You see it today, though, we actually immediately understand. We know why that person's jogging. That person's jogging because it enhances their health, and enhancing their health, it enhances their overall sense of well-being. Nike and others actually were centrally involved in making that connection. Health, running leads to greater health, and health leads to greater sense of well-being. We're seeing it in the mindfulness movement. Before, people thought meditation was for kind of a small group of people. Now that's actually spreading much more widely, and people perceive it as something that enhances their overall sense of well-being. What we're saying is that your relationship with money can have a similar effect. If you actually take one step toward greater financial stability, one step toward a sense of upward mobility or financial security or financial freedom, it enhances the way you feel. It enhances your sense of thriving in life. And that's really the ultimate goal I think people have. The thing that people really want at the end of all of this, whether it's physical, mental, social, relationship-driven, financial, it's a sense of thriving. And financial services certainly can play a role and should play a role. The foundation of this entire business is trust. In order for someone to give their money to a financial advisor or to an institution or to another individual, it's going to be rooted in the sense that I trust you with my money. I trust your judgment. I trust your behavior will be in my interest, in my best interest. And so, as we stated earlier, that's actually broken down. The pathway back is empathy, purpose, and integrity. And this is a pretty dramatic shift for us, because if you're used to selling products, you actually don't start with empathy. You start with, what are the features and benefits of my product? Let me tell you the features of this investment product that I have. Let me tell you the benefits of it for you. Would you like to buy some? I'm suggesting that we start from a different place, which is, what are the needs of this particular client, and how can I best serve those needs? That's where trust comes in, because then you're starting from a place of, how can I add value to my client's life or to the person I'm speaking to? And that's a pretty, I think, significant shift and an important one for us to start to reestablish trust. The second one is purpose. And purpose is a tricky term, because when people hear purpose, a lot of people immediately jump to this kind of generic social good. That if you're talking about purpose, suddenly you have to save the world, and every business has to do that. That's not what I mean by purpose. By purpose, I mean, why does the business exist? What purpose? How does it serve people beyond making a profit? Of course, you have to make a profit. You will not be in business if you don't make a profit. But why does it exist, and how does it serve society more broadly? So if you're Starbucks, for example, you might say, yes, I make reasonably good coffee, and I have a comfortable setting. But what they really established was a third place between home and work. And that third place tried to fill the sense of community that Howard Schultz thought was lost, particularly in the United States with suburban sprawl. And so the purpose was reestablishing a sense of community. I've not seen this broadly done in financial services yet. I think we're at the beginning stages of it, where there's this growing realization that what we do not only applies in terms of protecting people's financial futures, or not only applies in ensuring that we deliver performance in ways that our clients expect, but that we're actually deeply embedded in people's lives, and the way that trust is built, and the way that brands are built. It's when people feel like you are integrated into the deepest parts of their lives. And I think we're at the beginning stages of that. I see it more on the payment side than I do on the investment side at this stage. And so if I look at payments companies across the world, whether it's WeBank or Alipay in China, or whether it's Paytm in India, or it's Apple Pay and PayPal in the US, I see kind of a sense of purpose built into that, where they're saying, we are trying to not only improve convenience, but help you track your payments, help you track your spending, help you manage your financial life. So promising signs there, but I think on the investment side, we're at the very early stages of really integrating ourselves into people's lives in a way that goes beyond product and goes beyond performance. Everything should start with the best interest of the client. Everything. You shouldn't start with no company, no financial services company, no investment management company, and certainly at BlackRock we don't. Should start with, how can I best sell this product to you? It's more, how can I serve you? And this has been, I think, a pretty interesting transition that's happened in branding overall, which is, the best brands used to be the big aspirational brands, and the bigger the ad that I can run, the more celebrity I can throw into it, the more animals and babies I can put in there to kind of create some kind of emotional pull from the audience, the better. I think those days are over. I think now we're in the phase now where where people are saying, how can you serve me? And if we start from that premise, which is how can I best serve the client? How can I best understand her needs? How can I best deliver the right solution at the right time to the client? To me, that answers it all. And if you start from there, you don't have to worry about whether you're overselling, whether you're overpromising, because you're starting from the premise of really enhancing the life of the person that's sitting in front of you. Whether it's a brand or whether it's senior management, it's less about what people say, it's more about what you do. And I think it's behaviors that people will emulate. It's behaviors that they will look to say whether what you say is true or not. And so I think the best way to do it is to live it and to practice it every day. What I find ineffective is, and I've seen this happen at several companies, is the long laundry list of things that would determine your principles and ethical behavior. No one can remember the 20 things that are listed around it. So you need a core idea that actually binds everyone together, that's actually central to what you do as a company, and then live it. And that's the hardest part, is living it, because again, there will always come a point at which living your principles, living the values, will in some way conflict with short-term profit. That time will always come, but that's the ultimate test of whether you believe what you say. And so again, I think yes, the tone is set by senior management. It's set in part by what they say, and senior management can say it in a bunch of speeches. You can put it on the walls in your office, but at the end of the day, it's about your behavior. Are you living it every day? Are you demonstrating that you believe in those particular values?